So by hitching with a couple from the Netherlands, I was able to get to the start, but only just. It was a long hike up and over, and the weather was pretty foggy. Thankfully it did clear every so often, so I was able to see the Emerald Lakes. At times it felt like I was on Mars, which was pretty cool. On the other side, I arrived in Wanaka, where the hostel was full, and by now it was truly raining cats and dogs. So I ended up camping in the visitor's hut. From there, I got a hitch to Palmerston North, where I ended up sleeping in the children's fort. I actually slept in there 2 nights, as the rain made it so hard to hitch. For the second night, I made a friend of a TA hiker, and we camped in there together. Once the rain stopped, I got a quick hitch to Wellington and I ended up staying in the library. Libraries are really useful to anyone hitchhiking in New Zealand. I know when I was in Japan, konbinis or convenience stores were the places to go, but I think in New Zealand libraries are. Because every town has one, they're free to use, and you can stay there as long as you like during opening hours of course. Normally you have access to Wi-Fi, and you got access to power sources, and then you're able to plan your journey, and then you can also just hang out there if it rains. So in the Wellington Library, I booked a ferry across the South Island, and it was the roughest sea crossing I've ever been on. It departed at 1 AM, and thankfully I wasn't seasick, but I didn't sleep either. This is the calm after the storm. Don't let that smooth, picturesque blue sea fool you. It was truly rocky. And this is the route I took so far. So landed in Auckland, I headed to Whangarei, Paihia, Cape Reinga, back down to Kohu, and a quick tour of the Great Barrier Island, down to Hamilton, Rotorua, Taupo, the Tongario Crossing, the capital, and now I'm on to the South Island. I decided to, once I hit the South Island, to hike the Richmond Ranges, a part of the Tongario Trail. So I arrive, and having had no sleep, I feel actually not that bad. I walked to Havelock and enjoyed the beautiful weather and lovely scenery, hoping it would remain for my hike. And as usual, the weather always turns. And for my first night's sleep, I slept under this bridge. It was actually pretty peaceful listening to the rain, and I'm quite amazed at how dry I kept. The Richmond Ranges was pretty challenging. I think it was because I jumped directly into it, I hadn't warmed up my hiker legs, so to speak. But it was a truly beautiful hike. And it felt great to be back in the midst of all the hiker folk again. And seeing the hiker hut system was pretty cool too. Towards the end of my hike, the weather turned far worse and my hiker hunger hit me more than I had anticipated, meaning on my last day of 25 miles I had no food. I don't think I've hiked that fast since my Pacific Crest Trail hike. I remember trying to hitch into St Arnold, but obviously and understandably no one wanted to pick up a drenched hiker, and I remember seeing this wrapper of chocolate on the floor. I picked it up and found a half melted and then re-solidified Cadbury's chocolate bar. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, of course I ate it, I was so hungry. And once I got into town, I devoured a lot of junk food. I walked to the local campsite and I got 3 shower tokens, and even though I was soaked, it felt so good to be showering under warm water. All the cuts on my legs were stinging. I ended up sleeping in the kitchen area and I got talking to the warden, who works 2 weeks there with his wife before moving on to the next campsite to be a warden there in exchange for free accommodation. So from there I had to hitch to Nelson, and this hitch was super cool. I remember waiting inside the road and this silver car drove past me, and then 5 minutes later they turned around and picked me up, and it turned out to be this German lady who'd married a Kiwi, and her and her kids had been on holiday in the area, and when they drove past me she asked them should they pick me up, and I think they obviously all said yes. I think The kids' ages were I think like 9, 6 and 4. So yeah, for the entire hour down to Nelson, I got interviewed a lot, but they asked me every question they could think of under the sun. And they also told me a lot about Shark Girl and Lava Boy. Or was it Lava Boy and Shark Girl? That film. So yeah, we arrive in Nelson, and it feels so good to be back in civilization and socialising again. I make friends with a French girl called Julia and a Chinese guy called Quinn, who are both here on working holiday visas. I convinced them to try hitchhiking, and we all end up getting hitched with a guy called Patrick, who is from Canada.
Can you guys all say hi? Hi. Yeah. Hi. So, Quinn's from China, Julia's from France, and Katie is from the UK. And I'm from Canada, so we've got a very multicultural car going on here, and we're headed to Takaka?
Yes.
Takaka. How do you pronounce it?
Takaka.
Takaka.
And he's travelling around New Zealand vlogging and doing photography. We end up going to Takaka and free camp beside the river, alongside many other campers. We check out the Te Waikato-Pupu, a sacred Maori site, and it's the largest cold water springs in New Zealand and contains some of the clearest water ever measured. Back at the campsite, a local turns up and tells us that a storm is coming. So we check into the only hostel in the area that has vacancies, which turns out to be a nudist hostel. It was fine, just pretty unusual. From there we all end up splitting up. Quinn and Julia head to Greymouth, Patrick drives on, and I head to Fox Glacier. Fox Glacier is huge, and it's got a footpath which goes all the way to the base, though it is sad to know that it has shrunk a lot due to climate change. Onwards I hitch, and I get a ride from a family who are driving home. A grandma, a father, and a 6-year-old granddaughter and daughter, who is super curious and asked me to draw my house back home in England. This scenery in the South Island is truly beautiful, and really shows why they filmed Lord of the Rings here. I get dropped off a few miles short of Wanaka, and so I jump on the Teiroa Trail again and camp beside Lake Haiwa. It's wonderful to relax there. And when I awoke at dawn, I just remember sitting there for ages just taking it all in. From my lovely lakeside spot, I hike into Wanaka. It's a super peaceful hike, and I don't see anyone until I reach town. There I meet up with Julia, and we devour a lot of pizza and ice cream. I also camp under this tree for several nights. We watch the Piano Man, who hosts a mini concert most evenings from beside the Wanaka tree. Queenstown was next, and we decided to meet there too. I hitch in over the pass with a mum and 2 daughters, and we talk a lot about what it's like to hitchhike as a woman, and also life in general for women. Queenstown is awesome. There's so much to do here. It's also round 2 for pizza and ice cream. This picture is made entirely out of jelly beans. We decided to go on the luge, It's like a controlled version of Mario Kart, and you get 5 goes. On the evening we chill by the lake shore. I had a few fun nights sleeping in the park, where I was deceived by the lush green grass, despite everywhere else being so dry. Enter 2 AM, the sprinkler system. I thought by sleeping under this willow tree, I'd be safe, but I was so wrong. The next night I slept on these pine needles, which always offer a good night's sleep. From there Julia and I hired a car and drove down to Dunedin. And I think I'll end this here. As always, thank you for watching, and tune in next time for my next hitchhiking adventure.